A bunny ear-clad, conniving, and budding tomboy. A bear-clad 10-year-old and quintessential wild child. What happens when we get these two youngest siblings together? Probably the worst natural disaster the likes of which we've never seen, but I'm the Bobbist, and today I'll be comparing Louise Belcher and Moon-Tobin as who I believe comes out on top in the character department. For this list, I'll be making my decision based on 3 categories: personality, family dynamic, and interests. Now, I know the vast majority of you are here for Louise, but I do hope you take this opportunity to learn a bit more about the Great North. And please try your best to make it through the entire video. Watch time is one of the biggest metrics that affects a video getting suggested, and I really do need this video to perform well. So please and thank you for your time. And once again, from longest night to longest day, it's Belcher versus Tobin, bunny versus bear. So let's kick things off with the girl who has a now 15-season resume, Louise Belcher.
Hey, Tinabot, the sign says no motorized vehicles on beach.
It also says no trash on the beach, Tammy, so what are we gonna do here?
Louise is arguably Bob's Burgers' highest rated character, and there are great reasons as to why. And while the general consensus is that the first few seasons is where she shines the most, she wasn't exactly a shining example of current Bob's Burgers proper. During this era, Louise has shown a consistent lack of regard for the things that she says, but this unfiltered speech has led to some of her most iconic one-liners.
Dad.
Yes, Louise,
Hi.
yes.
Did you know that it only takes 2 pounds of pressure to drive someone's nose bone into their brain?
Your father's been working his you-know-what off driving a cab to pay for this.
You've been working your you-know-what off? I've been working my ass off!
At the same time, it was established early on that though she has a very headstrong personality, it wasn't out of character for tears to slip through that tough 9-year-old exterior.
You're all I've got.
Louise, I'm sorry.
Me too.
Don't cry.
Ha! Got you. You thought I was really crying.
That said, Louise was often found being quite selfish, and perhaps that selfishness wouldn't pose such a problem if it didn't lead to the lies that she's told for personal gain. Now, I'm not just ragging on Louise. I've got a soft spot for her in here, but I could literally make a top 10 video of her scheming and lying in ways that not only get her in trouble, but also puts her friends and family at risk. A prime example of this is her underground casino and the kids run the restaurant, but also at the tippy top of the series in episode 1 of Bob's Burgers titled Human Flesh.
I wonder how a rumor like that gets started.
It's made with human remains from the crematorium next door.
This one lie set the entire episode in motion, and the misinformation spreads around the whole of Seymour's Bay, eventually reaching the ears of one of Bob's biggest enemies, Hugo.
Here's what's gonna happen. We'll test your meat. If it contains human flesh, anything above the 4% allowable by the FDA, then your restaurant will be closed. And you, sir, will be going to jail.
They almost had to go to hell and back to fix the whole thing, but the fact that Louise sometimes shows remorse in these situations is what affords her a bit of saving grace.
I'm sorry that I told everyone that we make burgers from human remains.
Now, my favorite thing about Louise is the continued sarcasm that she brings. Even long before I got into Bob's Burgers, I've gone on record saying that sarcasm is the greatest form of humor, and Louise brings that in spades.
I could get some kayaking stuff.
Kayaking. You. Really?
I could be a kayak guy, maybe.
Right, because the only thing holding you back all these years was the insane cost of paddles.
Let's see if we can figure this out. I was really bad at math in school.
But you're good at it now?
For a while, this made Louise my absolute favorite character, but the more I watched, Tina eventually won my heart.
If we see any mermaids, I'm gonna ask them where their merginas are.
As the show went on, the writers seemed to have softened up on Louise's character quite a bit, leading to a ton of character growth. When once she could be easily described as a selfish, manipulative liar and future convict, she's now described as a thoughtful and considerate future convict. See what I did there? From plotting vengeance for Jean, reassuring her sister of how beautiful she is, and of course the plight before Christmas. It almost feels like the writers are trying to atone for like 8 seasons worth of Louise's sins.
I can't see what's around the tree when I'm pawing through the presents. But when I sit back and get my present unwrapped, I look up and I see my parents. I see and smell my brother. That's clearly where the gas is. And I see my sister. We made funny ornaments for the tree this year, and we make funny ornaments sitting here around the tree. So jolly. I didn't expect to feel this way. I was focusing on Santa. But the best presents are sitting here, and they aren't even wrapped up.
Now, before I get into this point, I want to say that I'm not attempting to offend anyone, so I apologize if I do, but it just bothers me that between Facebook and Reddit, people complain that they've made Louise too soft. The community says that the love and wholesomeness of Bob's Burgers is what attracts them to the series, but season 1 and 2 Louise was one of the least wholesome things about the show. She was there to be uncouth, she was there to give these abrasive and sometimes rude one-liners.
What's your name, sweetheart?
Devin McJim.
Shut up! It doesn't matter! Stop talking? Start working!
Yes, it's what made her funny, but it was very one note, and yet now that she's on brand with Bob's Burgers' overall subversion, we get complaints? I don't know, it just feels a bit disingenuous of the community sometimes. But the other reason it bothers me is that people like to say, oh, they changed their character, but did they? I mean, effective world building allows for personalities to mature in a given setting. Lauren Bouchard and crew have created a living, breathing world with characters that from a poetic standpoint almost seem to move independently, crafting their own narrative. So no, they didn't change her character, but she's learned and grown and maintained the growth that will cause her character to reach its natural evolution, cementing the fact that organic maturation is not character assassination. I'm gonna give y'all like 2 seconds to pontificate on that one.
I dreamt that I was being chased by a bear, but then I was the bear, and the bear had to poop, so I did, and then I woke up, and I had.
Moon-Tobin is often compared to Louise, but if we look beyond their standard archetypical roles, there's quite a bit of individuality here. I feel like I said that really weird. The association is typically made by people who don't even watch The Great North, and it's a pretty arbitrary comparison, usually incited by Moon's bear suit. But if those same people took the opportunity to actually watch the show, they find that compared to Louise, there's many times that Moon's actually not found wearing the iconic suit.
Sir, I just want you to know there's no reason to spray me because I already respect you. I mean, when you think about it, there's no reason you and I can't be friends, right?
Speaking of which, I actually wanted to cover this next point in Louise's section, but it was just getting too long, so I'll include it here. Louise's bunny ears have revealed a certain level of insecurity. That is, that she literally went insane after having them stolen by Logan Bush.
Laters. What just freaking happened? Revenge!
That said, the Bob's Burgers movie did round out a pretty good arc regarding the ears, but we've yet to see how that growth has transitioned into the series. However, when it comes to Moon, I find that his bear suit serves 2 practical purposes. The first is that the Tobins live in Alaska whose temperatures average far below 0, and Moon is the youngest Tobin child, so having something covering himself from head to toe I find to be very practical. But it also seems to serve a metaphorical purpose that represents Moon's wildness, cunning, and bravery.
Hark, some sort of beast has entered our abode. Line up behind me in order of bravery.
That scene tells us that Moon is the bravest of the 4 siblings, made more evident later in the same adventure that he scares off a moose while everyone else stood in fear.
Ah! I got Mom's bikini!
Moon, you saved us!
Those scenes together show the Molyneux sisters' ability to adhere to the cardinal literary rule of show and not tell. If you ask me, Moon's biggest flaw seems to be that he has a problem dealing with direct confrontation. Rather than facing it head on, he's been found literally running away from his problems when emotions are high enough. A notable example of this is in the adventure titled Dead Moon Walking.
Son, if I didn't know any better, I'd swear that you've attempted to change your appearance and are now planning to go on the lam so that a certain frenemy doesn't punch you.
Great guess, but don't try to stop me. This is the only way now.
Now in that example, Beef does gently try and suggest that he not leave, while in the season 4 adventure Aunt Misbehavin', Moon is freely allowed to quote go off the grid after being seemingly rejected by his crush, Quinn Nody.
I'll need that headlamp and that family-sized bag of Captain Aloof's cheesy poofs, please.
The weather band said a Chinook wind might blow through tonight, so I would also ask you to take a walkie-talkie in case of emergency.
All right, but where I'm going, it's gonna be a lot more walkie than talkie. Goodbye, Father.
Remember to report to the van at 0800 hours. You may go off the grid, but not off the school attendance list.
Swear to God, I just love how supportive Beef is. Now, if those 2 examples weren't enough, the very first time that Moon was found exhibiting behavior bad enough to warrant punishment, rather than accepting the ramifications for his behavior, he actually emancipates himself.
Hello, Moon. How was school?
I'm gonna stop you right there, Beef. I have an announcement. I've filed emancipation papers at Town Hall, and I'm now officially an adult. Therefore, your prior punishment is now null and also void.
Okie doke.
Okay, I did not see that coming.
For the record, you were a fairly good parent, and I'm happy to write you a letter of recommendation.
Thank you.
This adult right here, me, is also moving out. I have an appointment to view Delmer's guest cabin, which he rents out via Alaska B&B.
The one right next to our property?
The very same.
Then let us part ways as men.
Please communicate my forwarding address to Santa. I'll see you all at the family reunion.
That adventure is without a doubt a great Moon focus one and definitely cements him as my favorite Tobin child. Beef has a low-key fuck around and find out way of parenting, and though that has its caveats, it's led to Moon being a very capable boy. He has more survival instincts than most anyone in the series and developed a bond with wildlife and a certain balanced fearlessness. Another interesting trait about Moon's personality is that he's basically confirmed to have OCD, the disorder that ironically yields order as revealed in the season 3 adventure A Rangerous Mind.
Very weird.
It is?
Are you really asking me if it's weird to organize trash into a neat grid?
Yeah, I did it just to make you laugh. And now it's all messed up and normal and we can forget about it forever. Great!
Moon is confronted with the realization that he has OCD, and thanks to Mr. Galifianakis sharing the same disorder, Moon laments the realization, thinking that it could affect his bond with Quinn.
Organized by date, found, and number of legs. Organized by season, size, and color. Lined up in order of height. Oh no, I'm a Golovkin.
You're scared you're me, and I accidentally told an actual student he was gonna die alone.
I would say though that this trait isn't much referenced outside of the initial adventure, so that's certainly a downside. Now I'm not saying that he needs to be all Adrian Monk about it, but while there are some retrospective hints of his love of organizing, such as his joy of clerical work earlier in the season, I think Moon's character can definitely benefit from additional subtle examples of OCD. Now if there were any similarities between Moon and Louise, it would be that Moon has shown a penchant for scheming and does have his own devious string of lines.
My class is gonna eat you alive, and I'll personally pick the last bit of gristle off your bones.
But his schemes and offhanded liar too is so far not endangered anyone and are pretty tame at their core. Overall, Moon is a pretty honest kid who, like any other character, has his flaws. The slight problem I find with this is that a person who's written like Moon is someone who might not see too much character development. And while I do very much prefer Moon as a character, this category goes to the bunny based solely on how dynamic and impactful she is. Point, Louise Belcher.
Hello, Chief.
Moon?
I figured I'd turn myself in. I think you'll find that slingshot right there is unlicensed as hell.
Peekaboo, peekaboo.
She rolled over! Bob, Louise rolled over!
Really?
Yeah! She rolled away from Tina! I mean not away from you, Tina. Towards you. In a different direction.
We all know how much the Belchers love one another. I've mentioned it enough times on this channel, but strangely enough, given the kind of girl that she is, Louise isn't a character that has a hard time expressing love for her family. I mean, she doesn't wear her heart on her sleeve, of course, but just her earnest interactions and thoughtfulness here and there is enough to show just how close she is with her parents and siblings.
You cared about this place so much, you were gonna break a window for it.
I'd do more than that. I'd kill a guy.
Well, okay, don't do that.
Mom, look what I do. It's me when I'm grown up eating tacos with my monkey Sheila.
Great, honey.
Yeah.
Between Bob and Linda, it's clear that she favors Bob a lot more, and the two share a great dynamic when paired in a storyline.
Hey, I'm glad we ditched. That was fun.
Me too. Let's do it again sometime. Like, maybe when you're old and senile, I'll close the restaurant and come spring you from the nursing home.
It's fun having a movie star as a friend. More fun than regular friends.
I mean, Kojima's more our friend, mine and Louise's. You guys jumped on the bandwagon kinda late in the game.
The two have their spats here or there, but it seems to be a lot rarer when compared to Linda. Louise sees Linda the same way most everyone does, that is, sometimes over the top and abrasive, but you know that at the end of the day, she still loves that crazy woman.
I'll go get the costumes! Oh, and don't tell your father!
We won't if you won't! Gotta love that woman.
It could be that the two have such strong personalities that it's easier for them to clash, but she's found herself at odds with Linda on more than one notable occasion.
You just bought yourself a ticket to your room!
Oh, fine. Best money I ever spent. You can't ruin anything in there.
Come on, Louise. Let's leave our guests alone.
You mean your guest? Because I did not invite Teddy to come into my room and move my stuff around.
Right.
The sibling dynamic seems to be where the family shines the most. In fact, it feels more often that the Belcher kids are the main characters of the show rather than Bob himself. Whether Louise or Jean or Louise and Tina, putting Louise with either of them promises to be a fun or heartfelt duo.
Boat too wet, I wanna take a jet. Jet killed a bird, I wanna take a herd of sheep to the meadow. Say hello to the fellow making yellow on a cello.
You don't babysit from here. You babysit from here.
My boob?
Yes, your boob.
Focusing on Louise and Jean, I'd say that they're my favorite pair of the kids. They get into so many little shenanigans and are typically the catalyst for comedic fuel.
Jean, look.
Stop it, Louise. Your brother's not a cat.
I got it! Oh!
That's my boy.
That was fun. I'm done.
While more emotional than funny, one of the best examples of their bond is in the season 7 episode titled Larger Brother Where Fart Thou.
When Norwegian Steven's got his opponent on the ropes, he pulls them into a headlock like this,
Ooh.
and then he pinches them like this.
Whoa.
Until they have to breathe in his VO.
In this episode, Louise and Jean are left home alone and find an old rotted cantaloupe in the fridge. They decide to drop it off the fire escape when Logan and the boys just so happen to be skating by, and Logan's all,
wow, 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 wow.
Oh, wow, wow, wow. So as a result, Logan threatens to put Louise in a, quote, reverse Norwegian stinkhole, a tight gripping headlock of teenage armpit smell. Oh, if Tina wasn't in detention that episode, I'm sure she'd have been more than happy to take that L. Logan chases into a warehouse and Jean steps up to show off those larger brother instincts.
No. Come on, no.
Are you crying?
No.
Wait, if you're gonna give anyone the reverse Norwegian stinkhold, it's gonna be me.
Get out of my way.
No! I am very scared right now, but I'm not moving.
Jean, don't.
Okay, you asked for it. Whiff it up, little man. Whiff it up. Yeah.
It might seem like a small price to pay, but for an 11-year-old boy, I'm sure that was a torturous 15 seconds. But Logan's not without merit here, considering he could have just as easily done it to both of them, but accepts Jean's noble sacrifice.
Thanks for doing that. You're a great large brother.
Anytime, shrimp.
On the flip side, a fine example of Louise going to bat for Jean would be in the season 10 episode Drum Forgiven.
You gave my brother sad face, and that kind of gives me mad face.
You're giving me I don't care face.
Hey, quick question. You ever see John Wick?
Yeah? Why?
Well, I'm John Wick, and Jean is my puppy. And you're those guys who did something to the puppy. I'm not sure what, because I only saw the trailer, but I know enough about it to know that you're gonna pay.
In this episode, Jean takes a liking to a drum machine and frequently comes in to play it. But eventually the store owner, Dino, takes issue with Jean over using the machine without any intention of buying it.
It's the same thing. You get your sticky little fingers all over the drum machine.
Little? Thank you.
And it's pretty obvious by now that you're not gonna buy this thing, so you're just wearing out the merchandise.
Louise immediately goes into defense mode, seeing Jean upset, and even though he doesn't want her to get involved, the love that she has for her big brother causes her to be blinded by revenge. She plans to set off a makeshift glitter bomb, which is pretty tame compared to what we know she's capable of. But at the end of it all, Jean works out the situation for himself, and we get that nice little ribbon to tie off the episode.
Louise, when you fight my battles, it makes me feel like you don't think I can take care of myself.
I guess I never thought of it that way. Someone hurts you and my brain goes into destroy mode and I just want to, but yeah, I could chill out a little bit, maybe.
If I could cite one of the greatest episodes that depicts the wonderful dynamic of the Belcher family, it will be in the episode titled Bob Belcher and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Kids.
Guys, we're horrible. We set the restaurant on fire.
Yeah, why are we so bad?
I know.
Ironically, the title sounds so mean-spirited, but I'm sure it's a pun on something. Comment below. In this episode, Linda sculpts an almost lore-accurate mermaid for a competition, but due to its unfortunate aesthetic, the kids are afraid that they won't win and decide to take matters into their own hands. The kids believe that their careless efforts leads to the restaurant being set on fire, and through song, Jean admits to the restaurant's undoing.
It's all my fault. I set the restaurant on fire. It's all my fault. I burnt my dad's dreams with my wiggy desires.
This prompts Louise to sing her own ballad about the hand she played in the arsonist mishap, followed by Tina doing the same. A great call out here is that early on, Louise most likely would have been satisfied with Jean taking the initial blame, and the entire episode would have been some sort of arc about her finally admitting that she could have been at fault, much akin to Glued Where's My Bob. But without any guilt or provocation, she's easily able to share the responsibility, potentially even shouldering the blame all her own. But the kids' willingness to admit to something so catastrophic speaks to Bob and Linda raising mostly honest kids who have no fear in taking responsibility in a dire situation. It's not about candy, money, or some other mundanity. Bob is the most concerned of the two, and while he does show signs of stress, he's not particularly upset with them, more than just being glad that everyone's safe. And it turns out neither of the kids are responsible, but was in fact Hugo who accidentally started the fire from an oil-soaked rag.
It's not our fault.
I mean, the stuff we didn't help.
It's not our fault.
It's nice to get to blame someone else.
It's all you.
The Belchers are the perfectly written family, and that's not to say it's without discourse. But perfect in this example wouldn't mean without flaw, but written in a way that flaws are addressed in a reasonable and understandable way, leading not only to individual growth, but growth that strengthens the bond of the family itself.
That's right. Put on that pretty, pretty lipstick, Tammy. Then kiss your ass goodbye with it.
Yeah, unless you lived inside of Mom, you can't mess with Tina. We're Belchers, from the womb to the tomb.
I will eat the bones and flesh of anyone who hurts my Halverson brothers and sisters, and I will use their kneecaps as saucers and their skulls as bowls for the stew I made from their brains. All hail Ragnar the Unyielding!
The Tobin family is just about as close as the Belchers, and in certain cases you could argue they're even closer, but there are certain dynamics that are unique only to the Tobin family by comparison. As a young boy, you can say that Moon is basically growing up without a mother. That is, his mother Kathleen ran off to Pennsylvania with another man, and right from the start, the Great North takes every liberty to tell us just how bad a mother Kathleen was. Which makes me wonder how a soul as gentle as Beef ended up with a woman of such ill repute.
May she and Marcus be happy-ish, I guess, or whatever. Please come back, Kathy.
Dad.
Kidding.
Were you?
No.
This situation alone tells us just how different the Tobin dynamic is compared to the Belchers. The willingness to tackle such a grounded and real-world issue with both a comedic and serious tone to me was a powerful start. Moon is mostly indifferent towards his mother's absence, and any other emotion is nothing short of disdain from the fact that he's able to witness the damage that it's caused to his father and siblings.
Mom and Marcus kissing? Paul Simon, Phoebe, it was my fault!
This opens the floodgates to explore various facets of a somewhat broken home. In fact, this even led to Moon believing that Kathleen cheated on Beef and that Moon himself isn't even his father's son.
Why do you think Beef isn't your dad?
My hair is dark. I'm short. I also roll out my toothpaste from the bottom to the top. They all just squeeze it out willy-nilly like total monsters.
I enjoy how realistic Moon's apathy about his mother's absence is. I mean, it's alluded that she most likely had no hand in even raising him to where he is now.
Ever since Mom brought you home and said, "Here, you guys handle this one," we've been changing your diapers and reading you stories and singing you songs, but maybe you don't need that stuff from us anymore.
They could have just as easily made Moon all down and out about the fact that he doesn't have a mother, but when you finally have someone to fill that role, it also becomes a non-issue. And to that end, I'd say that the closest thing he has to a mother figure would be his sister-in-law, Honeybee.
No offense, Moon. Personally, I don't care for birds. I always catch them peeking in my windows. Stop peeking, birds. This isn't for you.
Yeah, it's for her, birds. A woman's body is her own dominion.
Eyes to yourself, Timothy. Don't look at my dominion.
Married to the oldest brother, Wolf Tobin, Moon and Honeybee's relationship was given great initial development in the Season 1 adventure, The Feast of Not People.
This is real life. This is death. I'm not sure you could even be quiet for 5 seconds.
Easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I should definitely train you.
All right, you can be my Obi, dead Kenobi.
Which on the side, I must say that having an interracial couple that's front and center is always a big plus. In the Feast of Not People adventure, Moon and Honeybee participate in the festival's Cadaver Dash event. The way these two interact with one another gives the sense that Honeybee enjoys her brother's company and he hers.
This reminds me of a story.
Shh. Your body is of the earth. Your limbs are still. Your flesh is food.
Wow. I honestly never...
Your mouth is shut.
But with there being about an 11-year age gap, we see that Honeybee sometimes has to step into a more maternal role, such as in You Got Math adventure.
Moon, we gotta talk about the report cards.
Disagree.
Moon, sweetie, I don't totally know what to say. I really wanted to help you with math, but now I feel like the worst big sister in the world.
It's not your fault my mom was a real mom about town. And if I was gonna be with somebody when I found out this life-changing information that I thought I wanted but now feel like barfing about, I'm glad it was with you.
Speaking of age gap, Moon is close with his siblings, but there's about a 6-year age gap between him and his youngest sibling, Judy, and about a 13-year gap between him and Wolf. This means the four of them can't be as close as the Belcher siblingship, which isn't a bad thing, it just alters the dynamic a bit more. There are so many people in the immediate family that it'll take way too much time to dive into each of their relationships, so as far as biological siblings, I'll focus on Ham since I believe that he and Moon might have the closest relationship.
Moon is very organized, and Judy has such gleaming eyes. Dad's elbows are the perfect size.
As I mentioned in my Bob Belcher versus Beef Tobin video, Ham Tobin is gay, and just like Beef, Moon is not an ounce less accepting of it.
Hey, I am gay.
We know, Ham, and we love you just the way you are!
I am gay.
Ham, we know. You've come out to us a bunch of times.
Which is another great call out to have an openly gay kid in the family that's not played for jokes or given unusually less screen time. Moon and Ham's bond is shown on notable occasions, but one of my favorites is in Season 2's 8th adventure, Good Beef Hunting.
Did somebody say boys' night? I said it with a Z, so I think it's gonna be pretty fun.
In this episode, Ham and Moon have to end up sharing a room after Wolf and Honeybee have toilet trouble in their guest cabin.
Leaking Lucy Lawless!
Ah, what's going on? Why are you naked? Why is there water?
So because of this, Ham has to end up giving his room to the couple, causing him to have the room with Moon. Moon thinks this means they can have a boys' night and get up to their usual shenanigans, such as playing Monster Brothers, but it doesn't go as expected.
Oh, sick! Monster Brothers!
Monster brother, singular. Someone's too busy to play with me.
But all said and done, the adventure ends with the credit sequence showing off the quote terrifying team.
Running through the halls, coats over our heads,
Popping out of closets, make you shake with dread.
we're the Monster Brothers, a terrifying team.
In Season 3, they also spend time together, burying relics of the past and emphasizing their relationship with one another.
You know, I used to wish I had a sibling I was as close with as you and Judy. Someone I could win best siblings with someday.
Moon, what? I am that sibling for you. Just because I'm close with Judy doesn't mean I can't be close with you.
I would be tempted to say that Moon and his sister Judy have an equal closeness, but after Season 5's adventure It's Complicated, she lost the running because of Moon.
I mean, I like winning the trophy, but it's so embarrassing to be doing a dance with my sister at this age.
Moon, I heard what you said about me the other day. How I'm a big, dumb, embarrassing loser.
Oh.
There's never once been a hint or build-up showing that he felt this way about his sister. It really just felt like a way to create conflict within the family to avoid them being too close. And it's not as if the writers are unaware of the wholesomeness that the show usually imparts, made evident by this scene.
It's kind of exciting to be the outlaws for once instead of a bunch of wholesome Harrys.
We're like the bad boys of the Southwest Alaska RV scene.
Speaking of beef, his dynamic with Moon is absolutely fantastic in every way. In fact, Moon takes mostly after Beef, given the fact that they both can be stoic at times and have a survivalist mentality.
I'm sorry that I know more than you about wildlife.
Oh, Moon, that doesn't bother me. I love that you do. I'm proud. But seeing you with wild animals still sometimes scares the crap out of me. It's a dad thing.
I've spoken already about the amount of freedom that Beef gives Moon, but it's also worth talking about Moon Court, a system created to settle family disputes over which Moon presides.
Sustained.
Does he think that means yes?
Sustained.
And Wolf's wearing a hat that he wrote bailiff on, so he's the bailiff.
Sustained.
Hey, only the judge gets to say sustained.
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Sustained.
Contempt.
And if it pleases the court, I'd like to announce that I am also the prosecutor.
This not only shows that Beef doesn't want to be the only one making decisions for the family, but that he trusts Moon above anyone else to deliver a fair and honest ruling. I also want to add that even with Moon being independent, he's still shown having appreciation for those small fatherly rituals.
It's dark and I don't want to miss tuck-in. Dad only makes one round. If you're not in bed, he just keeps walking.
If there was one family member that I absolutely have to discuss before wrapping up here, it will be Shaw-Tobin, the resident octogenarian who was placed as a nice addition since Season 4.
I'm calling the fire department to remove you.
Tell him not to dilly-dally. I stuffed a grenade in my bra's backup, and that pin is real loose.
Moon's relationship with Gertrude is mostly positive. That is, he admires her once hermit-like and unfiltered way of life.
Is that?
Yep, the TC320 carbonizer, a world-class urine filtration system.
Wow.
Turns my tinkle into clean, potable drinking water that barely even tastes like tinkle. Just a hint, but you want that.
Oh, thank you so much, but I had tinkle for lunch.
There was really only one time the two of them had bad blood, and it mostly stemmed from a bad childhood memory, but boy, oh boy, you don't want to be on their bad side.
Stupid little no-good little traitor boy.
Could someone pass the bacon?
Sure thing.
Could someone else pass the hash browns?
You got it, buddy.
Moon, are you by any chance feuding with your elderly aunt?
Oh my God.
Is that?
Every single object from my room on the front lawn? Yep.
There are a lot of mixed opinions among the community about Dirt's character, but I like her for the most part, and I'm glad she became a mainstay. And I mean, she's voiced by Jane Lynch. Need I say more?
Dream on, bitch.
It can't be denied that Louise's dynamic with her family is a powerful testament to how a functioning and loving family can work in this medium. And while I do consider Moon and his family to be equally loving, the inclusion of an absent mother along with the representation of a gay brother and black in-laws, that just affords the Tobin family a lot more dynamacy within its current 5-season run. Point? Moon-Tobin.
Well, today was a big success. I finally fixed a toilet, and you guys learned how to get along again.
And even though I didn't win the beef hunt, I finally got to say,
you guys
Thanks for sticking around with me up to this point, guys. I want to take this opportunity to talk about some buzz surrounding the Great North. So far, it has yet to be renewed for Season 6, and the community's been trying to do everything we can to get it. I feel like a lot of the hate for the Great North comes from the frequent comparisons to Bob's Burgers, and the fact that it's just hard to get into new animated comedies overall. I've also heard a lot of people say they didn't get into the show because it's just Bob's Burgers in Alaska, but I mean, honestly, can you complain about more Bob's Burgers in any state? And beyond that, I'm pretty sure we can safely say that the two shows are vastly different just based on what you've seen in this video. I had a tough time getting into the Great North myself, just like with Bob's Burgers. It took me about 3 years of passing on the Great North to finally give it a fair chance. I started with Season 3, fell in love, and went to the beginning, so maybe you guys can try that. I feel like people's bias is just far too strong, that even if they see something good from the Great North, they'll call it bad simply because of their predisposition. That is how bias works after all. Say it's unfunny or whatever else have you, but it can't be denied that the Tobins have a beautiful relationship, and that's what we're there for. Now, another complaint that I hear in the Bob's Burgers community is that it's not as adult as it used to be, but the Great North by comparison is actually a lot more adult, especially in the most recent seasons.
I want to talk. Oh, Axel. Donuts, stop. Now that's what I call music.
The core takeaway that I want to drive home here is that we need more shows like Bob's Burgers, more shows like the Great North. Central Park already met its end, and if the Great North dies early, what do you think that could imply for the future of wholesome television? We need to normalize families that love each other in these shows. We need to watch the Great North to show them that this is the kind of dynamic we want to see more of. Otherwise, all we'll be left with is this.
You're not telling mom or dad or anybody, do you hear me? We found it. We're the ones who are gonna get rich, okay?
But it's illegal.
Peanut, sweetie.
Yeah?
Guess what? I got a secret. Okay, ready?
Okay.
You wanna hear the secret?
Yeah, what is it? Ah!
We're selling it!
We know that Louise loves a bit of danger, and no matter how soft people say that she's gone, I don't think that fact's changed much. We can look as far back as the Belchers, where she convinces Gene and Tina to search for gold in a taffy factory that's shortly scheduled to be demolished.
Let's go get the taffy factory treasure. We got the map.
But it's just a butt. Teddy was just messing with our heads.
Men do that.
This is another situation that yet again places her friends and family in danger. Louise was the first domino that triggered this life-threatening situation, but we can also look as recent as season 13. She endangers both her and Tina's lives only so that she can have a real-life cannonball for show and tell.
Tina, you see anything?
No, I'm kind of more focused on not falling off these very slippery rocks we're not supposed to be on and being taken away by the ocean.
The problem is they had already been warned about the high tides from Gus, and even after multiple warnings from Tina, Louise still puts them in a situation where they could potentially drown to death.
Up here!
Okay, that was probably the last wave. Should we head back in?
But even though she does have her danger streak, there are many interests of Louise that actually don't lead to these situations. Most notably, she has an interest in Japanese culture, such as her Kuchikopi merchandise, her shared interest of the Japanese film series Hawkenchick, and her Borobu cards, the Pokemon parody.
Feast your eyes. My Borobu card collection.
So Borobu's like Pokemon, but just everybody's a slug?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, do you guys remember when Gene and Louise wanted to sell some of their stuff so that Tina could go to horse camp? Everyone says that it was so thoughtful of her, but it was a bunch of garbage, no? I didn't see one Kuchikopi, Koro Kamui, or Bakaneko. I mean, were we being selfless or were we being selfless? Bust out them slugadactyls. These things have led on that Louise is pretty much an otaku or nerd, and I'm waiting on her to get into at least one anime in the Bob's Burgers universe, much in the way that Tina's into the Equestronauts. Louise has one of the sharpest criminal minds, and she's frequently interested in illegal activities. From attempting to sell contraband to breaking and entering, you could pretty much draw up a rap sheet big enough to sleep under. Get it? Because rap sheet like paper, but sheet like a bed? You get it, I'm a genius. On another subject, I've mentioned that Louise's bunny ears have led to a sort of insecurity, and the community has speculated that the insecurity lies with a similar appearance that she'd have to Linda without them. But her insecurities mostly show when the subject of conventional girlhood is put into question.
I don't like it.
So?
Well, why? Why don't I like it? Why have I never liked any of this stuff?
What do you mean?
I mean, I don't know. Is something wrong with me? Am I not being a girl right or something?
What? Louise, it's fine that you don't like it. It doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. I mean, you like your stuff, like your Barobu cards, and they like their Pixie Princess stuff. Everyone can just like what they like and be who they are, and that's okay.
This leads to her hiding one of her most notable interests, that being the Boys for Now frontman, Boo Boo.
Who let all these pretty girls in here?
But she eventually confesses, finally admitting that she has a crush on Boo Boo.
We hate him! Everybody hates him!
Not everybody. I like him. I mean, I hate him, but I like him. I like him a lot, and it's terrible.
That's it, girl.
It makes no sense. What is he even? He's like a piece of candy with hair, or like a boy mixed with a baby, mixed with a girl.
Mixed with an actor, mixed with an artist, mixed with a model.
Move! No, I'm not done. Just because he's embarrassing in like every way I can think of.
Okay, that hurts.
Shush! Just because he's embarrassing doesn't mean I'm embarrassed. You hear me, people? I'm saying it loud and proud. I like Boo Boo!
Yay, Louise!
But just like her ears in the movie, we get to see how she handles accepting her crush on Boo Boo, although one of Tina's stories depicts pretty humorously how she feels about him.
You guys, hurry, there's an avalanche coming.
Say Boo Boo! The others don't matter!
I'd like to see how things would go if Louise, say, won a date with Boo Boo, but on this subject, Louise has a pretty small friend group, mostly consisting of Andy and Ollie Pesto, Millie Frock, and the boy with whom she's most interested in hanging out, regular-sized Rudy.
I don't need a bounce house. I got my buds, I got cake, and later we'll be making spoon puppets and putting on a show.
The fanbase considers Rudy to be Louise's love interest, but the more I consider things, I think that her interest in him is of a more platonic nature, and it's clear that he has no romantic feelings for her either.
Thanks, Louise. You're the coolest.
Great. So Rudy likes Chloe Barbash, and not me. What a relief.
Of course Louise is saddened at this fact, but I don't think it's because she has romantic feelings for him. I just think it felt nice for her to be potentially romantically desired by Rudy, especially considering that because she's not the most girly girl, she may have hidden insecurities about not being the object of someone's affection. And yes, she did kiss him, but personally I didn't see an ounce of romance in that kiss. Just a friend trying to give another a nice Valentine's Day wish to make him feel better and nothing more. The friendship has gravitated to them feeling more like siblings before love interests, but it just seems the fandom of anything with rather ship characters before giving them a more familial bond. But the writers themselves seem to directly address this ship in a way that the community chooses to ignore.
This is all my fault.
Mrs. Regular Sized?
No, I'm just a friend. A platonic friend and roommate.
Of course.
Plus, I'm mad at you from before. We were supposed to move in together as platonic roommates and friends, and then you ran off to Kathmandu. I had to break the lease, and it broke my heart, platonically.
Most fans look at this as a throwaway gag, but the writers are looking at the fandom and giving them that.
No.
Aside from the Valentine's Day kiss, Rudy feels like the little brother Louise never had, and next to shipping I find that to be just as adorable. Overall, Louise's interests can vary depending on the day or plot, but at the same time they tend to always be pretty consistent when brought to light. And those interests of themselves are what in turn craft one pretty interesting little girl.
Ooh, we're gonna need a trampoline too.
Moon.
Congrats, Dad, you're a grandpa. Ow!
Moon! Pull over right now!
Yeah! Careful, these are a little spicy.
Moon!
I've mentioned earlier that Moon-Tobin is a sort of wild child, and that's mostly thanks to his interest in wildlife and aforementioned survival skills. Moon-Tobin is a coffee-drinking, Sasquatch-loving, animal-trapping tactician. Some of his interests lead on that he's an adult trapped in a kid's body, such as the fact that he takes his coffee black, reads the morning paper, and has musical interests that far predate his birth.
Her hands are never cold. She's got Betty Davis eyes.
Yes, Moon can be very mature and is often found to be a bit stoic, which isn't a bad thing, but I think the writers have found a good balance between his maturity and puerility. At his core, he's a boy with desires that align with that of your average kid. As an example, we'll look at the Season 3 adventure, Autumn If You Got 'Em.
And once we reach the door, we offload all the desserts from the Fall Frenzy Dance dessert table into the Dread Sled 2.0 and vanish into the night.
In this adventure, one of the 4 side plots sees Moon hatching a plan to heist the desserts at an autumn dance. And while his plan was obviously well thought out, Moon and the crew are thwarted by his crush, Quinn.
Oh, hello, Moon.
Quinn, you heisted our heist. Fair play. The desserts are yours.
Or maybe there's a deal to be struck.
Go on.
You see, the beaver brownie leftovers come home with my family. Your heist endangered my score, so...
You did what you had to do.
But I have nowhere to hide all these desserts, so I want in on your deal, and on your friendship.
I think we could make that work.
Oh my god, I think they're in love.
Shut it, Russell. We still have a job to do.
A really fun example of Moon not being at his most mature is that with his coffee drinking habit, we find that in the most recent season, he's not quite able to handle his lattes.
Moon, you're cut off.
Cut off? This is the thanks I get for all the work I've done in here? I'll give you $3 to pump some caramel right into my mouth.
You're out of here in 5 seconds, or I'm calling your dad.
Moon, stop running!
How he got off unscathed after being hit by 2 cars is beyond me. I've spoken twice about Moon's connection with wildlife, which was established in Adventure 4 of the Great North's first season, where he's able to easily grab a flightless grouse and tries to teach him to fly.
What are you doing? I'm capturing a flightless ruffed grouse to teach it how to fly and then re-release it into the wild. I'm gonna leap off a branch and show Timothy how to fly.
Yeah, but you can't fly, so...
I can kinda soar. Let's see what I'm getting at.
But he does also have an aptitude for trap setting, which we initially see in the Great North's 8th adventure, Keep Beef Leaving.
When I trap Bigfoot and become the most famous person in town, I'll accept your apology.
In this adventure, Moon's affinity for Sasquatch leads to him crafting a trap to catch him, and if you want to be technical, he was successful in the endeavor. The trap that he sets leads to the capture and permanent inclusion of his brother-in-law, Jerry B. Shaw.
And well, I know you like it here, so this isn't just a visit. I'm moving to Alaska.
But as it happens, this leads to Moon losing interest in Bigfoot, and by extension, all the childish things to which he clung. Clung. This disinterest leads to another of my favorite Moon scenes.
You don't need a photo when you have multiple eyewitness testimonies! On the contrary, eyewitness testimony has been scientifically proven unsound. But you can't argue with the eyes! Human memory and perception are consistently unreliable. I hereby declare Bigfoot non-existent! A hoax!
Moon, no!
I used to be like all of you, but not anymore! I know the truth! Wake up, Steve-O!
Judy, Ham, time to go.
Good sir, it's been a pleasure.
And by the way, Sasquatch rhymes with Asquatch.
Kinda curious how a religious conversation would go with Moon. I mean, I think Beef is atheist, right? When I say that trapping Bigfoot was a success, it's because Jerry becomes the town's Bigfoot mascot for parties, so Moon's plan worked 100%.
Who knew it'd be so much fun buying my little brother an amount of ice cream that would make him physically sick?
You're nailing it, Jer.
But we can't go on this topic without mentioning that he's so good with traps that, yeah.
Hello, Moon.
Now, before you say anything, I'm totally fine. But I understand if you don't want to let me stay home alone again.
Gotta give the boy his credit. The final topic I want to cover in this section is Moon's romantic interests, of which you can say there are 3, although his crush on Bethany is unrequited and superficial.
Moon, I really loved my time here, but career week is over, and I have to get back to what I usually do after school, which is absolutely nothing.
Understood.
Goodbye, Mr. Tobin. Goodbye, Moon. I'll never forget you.
The second in the hot seat is Debbie. Now this one's a little rocky considering the majority of their dynamic is Debbie ripping on Moon in random and senseless ways.
What do you want, Debbie?
Oh, I've just been meaning to tell you that your nostrils look like 2 little fireplaces. Your hands are done, you smell like chili, and your name sounds like somebody stepped on a cow.
Have we covered your weird teeth yet? Your mouth looks like it's all molars. Should I keep going?
But if you take the time to actually analyze her behavior, you realize that she's following the conventional idea of picking on someone she likes. I mean, she literally goes out of her way to walk up to the car, talk about Moon's nose, and walk away. But then there's this little scene from when Moon emancipated himself.
I have a conference with Mrs. Hill about Moon's recent math grades. I'm gonna tell her I'll handle it at home.
I wonder if Moon would adopt me.
Obviously this spoke more towards her admiring his independence, but there's something there. Well worth mentioning that it might not be so unrequited either, given the fact that Moon included Debbie in his musical Bigfoot dream.
What up, y'all? Moon's really cool and I like him a lot. I can't believe I doubted him. He's super hot.
But obviously they're far too young for us to make any conclusions, and it most likely end up being toxic more than anything. But the final of his romantic interest is probably the most reasonable one, and I've already spoken about her. Moon and Quinn are clearly smitten with one another, but I think they realize they're a bit too young to pursue anything, so just like to talk sweet nothings to each other.
The janitor stuff was fun, not because I want to hang out with you.
Oh yeah, no, me neither. I don't care about you, like, at all.
Same. I'm in, because I like investigating, not because I like you.
Oh, same.
They should not be having them kids talking dirty like that. So there's been a, development since I wrote this video?
So I want to ask you to be my girlfriend forever and have a perfect life together until we die, surrounded by the hundreds of wolves who adopted us as their leaders.
Well, to be honest, Moon, I was gonna ask you the same thing. Only in my head, we're the leader of bears.
There's no reason we can't have both.
I'll briefly talk about the rest of Moon's group, but there's not much to tell, and these sections are long, but I'll give them a few sentences. Henry Tuntley is mostly boring to me in contrast to Moon's balance of maturity. Henry just feels too mature presenting.
Avocados are going to be tough to find in Lone Moose at this time of year, but I can take that box of pears and turn it into like 300 baseball cards. Does Honeybee like baseball cards?
Russell, on the other hand, I love, and with the way that he talks and the random ass things that he says, it just makes me love him even more.
When I get nervous, my whole body smells like feet, but not my feet, which is the weird part.
But I feel like there's a sort of bias here because his curly hair and body type is giving Steven Universe, who I find to be exceptionally adorable.
Oh, Steven, there's one more thing I have to mention.
What is it?
I love you. Bye.
See you later.
A thing I've heard the community get annoyed about is Russell's catchphrase referencing his mom's boyfriend, Jamie.
I've composed a poem about and for my mom's perfect boyfriend, Jamie. My mom's boyfriend, Jamie. My mom and her boyfriend, Jamie.
You're not our dad!
Or our mom's boyfriend, Jamie.
Personally, I don't mind it. I think Jamie must treat him really special, and he's just excited to have a positive role model in his life, it seems. I mean, there's clearly a story there. In all, Moon's hobbies, romantic interests, and friend group do make him a fun character. But the fact is, for this one, I identify a lot more with Louise's interests, and the core fact is that, objectively speaking, Bob's Burgers has had a lot more time to hone Louise's interests perfectly and dynamically. Point? Louise Belcher. Oh my god, this video was so long. Thank you all for sticking around for this one. Now, I'm not sure yet, but some personal things are going on in my life that might cause me to go on hiatus for 4 to 6 months, which I really know that sucks considering the fact that a lot of you just found me, but when life happens, it happens. I'm hoping that it won't have to happen, but things are looking pretty bleak if I'm to be honest, so just keep me in your thoughts, I guess. I'm the Bobbist, and with any luck, I'll catch you guys on the next one.